I met Frank in Dallas when we were on tour, and I had sort of become a fan of his immediately when I first heard his music. You know, we had been on tour for a long time, and there's something about the music really resonated with me. At once super familiar and also incredibly strange and foreign.
It's really exciting. This is an opportunity to go into the studio and do my thing that I do at home, but it's always more fun working with other people, because then it's like more of a party. You know, everyone's shooting in cool ideas.
When you have these guys that are all such good players, you get right to getting good performances right away. And that means moment by moment, seizing the opportunities of trying out new things. It was a really fun and really collaborative day because of that.
My name is Frank LoCrasto, and I'm here doing a session for Shaking Through.
Frank was joined by our really good friends from the War on Drugs, Charlie Hall and Dave Hartley.
He's someone that I always wanted to collaborate with on some level. Just got a great sort of adventurous spirit and great attitude. He's just like a guy that you want to be around and work with.
That tempo feels good.
Feels good, yeah.
It really does.
I don't know if this ride...
I went to an arts high school, and that was like a really big learning experience. That was the first time I got to like really play with a drummer and a bass player and guitar, and like you're playing in ensembles, being surrounded by all the right people. Guys and girls who were into the same music that I like, and they also opened me up to so many different things. It really like helped me become a better musician in the long run.
You want to try to run it down? I mean, when we all got here yesterday, we were just like, you know, ready to play. Like we just wanted to jam.
The feeling at the beginning of the day was crazy. I mean, as soon as they like started jamming, everyone was kind of like a little in awe of what was happening.
Like the first time I listened to Frank's music, you know, I was just like, I felt like I'd been here for weeks or something.
It was also a little bit different to hear him with like that kind of real instrumentation.
The demo we heard of this had a keyboard synth bass, and that's going to be very different than a person playing with his fingers, playing a bass guitar, playing through a bass amp.
Rode lent us a bunch of their microphones again for this session. We put the K2 on Dave's bass amp. Getting the like articulation gives you a sense of like a player actually playing the bass. The pairing of that with our DW Fern DI to the Dizengoff DA2 sounded classic.
Those incidental little momentary nuances are the things that kind of give it real human life, real human form. Sometimes you don't want that nuance. But in this case, Frank wanted to seize the moment and just go for it as sort of organic and natural and classic as we could. What I'm really proud of is the fact that when we swap out the really expensive mics for a pair of Rode NT55s and the Rode NTR, our 3-mic drum overhead technique still holds up. It's our drum sound. It still works.
And what could also be cool, when you hit that last note, you could always slide down.
Frank had actual charts that he brought with him for everyone. I don't know if they even looked at them. I think Dave and Charlie were probably more comfortable just vibing by ear.
We were just talking about maybe putting, just in the headphones, put some delay on the drums instead of using a click. Great.
Do you know a tempo? Because we could just set the delay at that tempo.
We could figure out right now.
We sent the snare drum through the Electro-Harmonix Memory Man pedal and then had Charlie play to that echo delay as an alternative to recording with a click track. There you go.
I didn't really hear it, which when it comes to a metronome, that's usually a good sign. If you can hear it, it's usually falling in a place where you don't want it to. Now everything feels like it's in its right place.
Nice.
Personally.
Yeah.
There's a human adjustment to the echo. It might sway a little bit this way, that way, but it kind of doesn't matter because it creates the sort of backdrop for a much more natural performance that is still maintaining a steady tempo.
That was really helpful. Made it funkier, groovier. It felt better to play with.
We always like opportunities to use things like pedals in the real world rather than plugins in a computer. I don't know why, but we just do.
Is that a possibility? Can we play another?
Yeah. Do we have the technology?
Do we have any machines here that record music?
0?
Yeah.
Before I got into college, I was very into like jazz fusion, just like Herbie Hancock all day long. Then I got into college and a lot of the jazz guys didn't want to get away from the piano. So I would like lug out my suitcase Rhodes piano to the gig, clavinet, Art Bodyssey, all this stuff, just silly. But once you're up there and you're playing, yeah, it was totally worth all of that. Playing music with your friends, it's like spiritual. It's worth that feeling.
We wanted to make sure that the song had dynamic changes throughout. So we were constantly feeling out what kinds of things would delineate that section from the previous section. There might be a section or two where it would be nice to just break it down and then come in with something. Like something that like sucks the air out of everything for just a second. So almost like a reset button. The majority of what we were focused on for this song were synthetic sounds. One great way to change things up was you bring in a piano, and a piano is a very wholesome, rich, real instrument.
We decided to use 2 of the Rode NTRs, and it really ended up fitting the vibe that everyone was going for that section really well.
So while Frank's playing that, we had a microphone pointing out to the street in Fishtown in Philadelphia.
When you're listening to music, it's easy to get lost in the song, and when stuff like that happens, it kind of humanizes it a little bit. You get street sounds, reality kind of settles in.
It became the beginnings of the thing that would contextualize that otherworldliness that everything else was. We could bring the reverb, like the amps for our stereo reverb effects into this room and be sort of implementing them in real time as you're recording stuff. So we were sending our signals like we normally do in mixing, we were just doing it while tracking.
The microphones were the Rode NT1s going through the Dizengoff D4s.
The D4s have this nice little tactile outline of gain to them. We sort of played them lightly, and they worked great on our reverbs.
You know, Brian and Matt are in there, and they've got this station with the space echo and all these guitar pedals. They were just sitting there just tweaking away, and it sounded amazing. I always wonder about that. When I hear records recorded in studios, they're getting all these great sounds. I come in here and I'm like, you guys are doing this with guitar pedals?
Earthquaker also lent us the Afterneath pedal and the C Machine pedal. Charlie was turning up the reflect knob on the Afterneath so that it would start to kind of self-oscillate. He was messing with that drag knob to kind of pitch it up and down and add a sense of modulation to the reverb.
Once you get this going and the band kicks in, you could start say we're feeding back now. Just start tweaking that shit. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, God.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah.
It was super trippy and really psychedelic, which I love. Anytime it happens, just all day.
It's fun, especially when you have somebody like Frank doing the hard work to just turn a couple knobs. You sort of know what is supposed to happen, but you don't really know exactly what's going to happen ever. It's kind of a beautiful thing. Organizing chaos into a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Is that all right?
That's really nice.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
At a certain point, I got pretty burned out. Playing these restaurant gigs where someone calls you to play for 6 hours for $100, and you're just not again. So I was just like, you know what? no more of this. I'm gonna get a job and I'm just gonna do my own thing. That's when I went and got the gig at the scooter shop. It was labor intensive, and it was in the summertime, so it was hot. At the end of the day, like, you finish work in 10 hours and you're just like sweaty and greasy and you don't want to do anything but just like have a beer and watch TV. So musically, I didn't get anything taken care of in that period. 2013, I had a rough year. It was financially bad. I was dark about music, just had a shitty, bitter attitude. That was when I was just like, you know what? Screw this. I'm out of here. So I went to Texas and stopped at my parents' house. And the plan was, while I'm in Texas, all the people I played with in high school are gonna like throw me all these gigs. That did not happen. There's no safety net when you're an independent contractor. It's just the world we live in, you know, just gotta adapt and move forward. Leaving New York and going to Texas, it was like really, really eye-opening because I was expecting to like make some money doing gigs, and that kind of backfired on me. So when that happened, I decided I wanted to move back to New York. My crew friends in New York, we all kind of do each other favors. We play in each other's bands for free and play in each other's records, and I didn't realize like how many people I played with and met, and yeah, that was a big part of it, having the network. You don't realize how important they are in your life until you're not around them anymore.
With a lot of the keyboards, we were always using sort of modulating, chorusing, bubbling sounds. So we decided to alternate that a little bit. Charlie wants to see if we can do another pass with that instead of the biphase.
Sure.
Can we get down with that?
Yeah, let's try it.
It started to become clear as we went along that it might behoove us to go to something really searing and straight. No vibrato.
Yeah.
I think we have enough modulating things.
Charlie brought his Vox Continental, and Brian had this great idea of playing it low in just really simple voicings.
Yes. No, the lower. Lower. Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty huge sounding instrument, so simpler the better.
It's very interesting and very unique to work with Frank because on one hand he is such a good musician, but he's also such a generous collaborator. He had so much respect for the people involved in this. I think it's really cool.
Sweet. Can we get all George of the Jungle on this next section now?
With a percussion?
Maybe time.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
You ready, George?
We're good? We got enough keyboards on this?
Yeah, I mean, sure.
I was like, we need the sound of something like actually just rubbing together. Something tactile to feel as opposed to magnets.
It's easy when you're working by yourself to get sucked into this never-ending rut. So much of that goes away instantly when one person is just like, yeah, you don't really need to do that there.
Are you really thinking you'd want the bongos to be there? Because it seems...
Is it weird?
It
seems the most awkward there.
Yeah, and not necessarily necessary.
Okay.
And yet it's
All
really
right,
strong
yeah.
when it kicks back in. With,
All right.
you know.
This haze lifts up and you're like, yeah, you're right, duh. You can really get into a strange headspace. And it's good having people in the studio to open your eyes up to that kind of thing.
He has a clearly defined vision for music, but within that, he's totally open for collaboration and ideas and trying new things.
I have to imagine that in his everyday life, he's collaborating with people like this all the time.
A friend of mine was working on a record and he wanted piano, so he just emailed the track over to me and I just did it at the house and sent it back to him. So much of what I do is that someone emails a song and I'll just overdub keyboards on it. Last year, a good friend of mine landed a great gig for a licensing company or library music. So he got all of his friends on board. It started going really well. I started working a lot. You could do it when you want to. You just make a track and you send it to them and they say yes or no. And that was just like a big game changer. There's a lot of stuff I do and I'm just like, I don't dig it. I try to make the best out of it, but it's a gig and it's there, you know, and it pays the bills. I could work on that for a week and then spend the rest of the month just doing my own thing if I wanted to. Having that alone makes it possible to be a full-time musician.
Do it one more time.
You know, I guess I'm just in a phase right now where things are going good. I hope it stays that way forever. I'm just gonna keep on this road, doing what I want to do. I'm making records, I'm having fun with it. It sounds silly, but making records and playing music with my friends and playing around New York is great. That's really fun. I'd be happy doing that till I die.
God, man, it's like a Fleetwood Mac recording session or something, you know?
All right, I'm gonna blow your mind a little bit here. Sounds great in here. You guys sound great. I'm very happy. Are you happy?
Cameras sound great.
Cameras sound amazing.
It is like grandfather's vibes. It's
Oh,
like
man.
real beautiful set of vibes.
Apparently I have my grandfather's vibes.
What's that?
Apparently I have my grandfather's vibes. Tall, alcoholic.
Those 3 eggs taped together have been used on hundreds of records.
Same one on Pet Sounds.
No, not records that I've recorded.
Always be filming.
To download the multi-tracks recorded for this or any episode of Shaking Through, or to learn more about Weathervane Music, the nonprofit that produces this series, you can follow the links on the screen or go to weathervanemusic.org.